body and the only body where the elected representatives of the people can make decisions is the. And we are saying that where we talk about concentration or decentralization, wherever there is no complete agreement, we hand it over to the parliament to decide. We're not coming here to settle the policies. We're not going to make decisions for society beforehand. If you believe in these principles, let the process get to that point. Until we get there, we have to create the basis for it. And we know that the Islamic Republic will not hold a referendum. It will never give people the right to hold a free election. And, free elections have a definition. An Interparliamentary Commission has described this. It's a global thing, on overthrow. And not just our countrymen, but the global community. You must know that there are the freedom-loving people of Iran who are looking at the free world, who are looking at the democratic world. They are your best partners. But you still insist on negotiating with people who are the first cause for the imprisonment of our countrymen. And I want to tell you that if you insist on negotiating with this regime, that is actually intervention in the internal affairs of the country. And if you continue in this policy, that you insist on negotiating with this regime, with people who are criminals, you will be partners in crime. And the people of Iran will not forget this. Make your decision. Where will you stand? Where will you stand as far as history goes? These are our points of concentration. We're not focusing on differences of opinion. Yeah, for sure, we're going to have those differences of opinion. We're not all going to be thinking the same. But most of the people of Iran agree that the only path to freedom is to overthrow the Islamic Republic. That's where we're all going to stand together. We're going to work together with forces within, with forces outside the country, and our message to the world and our want from the global community. I just want to say, the question was a little personal as to why people have joined this group. I can explain my reasons. Seeking justice is important for me. And this, of course, extends to others who have lost people. And justice is really important. And also the democratic movement of Iran, which took shape 115 years ago, from a demand for a House of Justice to today. This was important for me to consider myself a part of this group. And ultimately, you cannot satisfy everyone. That's a principle. But you can satisfy the majority of the people. If we want to talk about the text, this is not the goal. It's the means to an end, and it is after that we can reach our objective through organization. The text that most Iranians can see themselves within it, and see the various points of view, but ultimately, you're asking with whom we've shared this. With Iran. We've shared it with Iran. That Iran is where that is guiding this process, that began this process and is guiding the process. And I am hopeful that activists outside the country can also consider themselves based on the message from Iran.
Add something here. We all know, everyone here, that many people outside Iran have written many charters like this, and they have sent their charters to us For us, we know there may be mistakes in these charters. We have agreed to focus on each and every one of them coming from the people who have paid the price, the people who are the true inspiration of this revolution. We have thought of asking legal experts. We have spent hours and hours in consultation. Let me tell you something. The divisions that the Islamic Republic is talking about, these do not exist amongst us. I promise you that noble people really want this charter. We are working very hard to not see those divisions. We only have one common enemy, and that is the Islamic regime. This is the Islamic regime has managed to create, turn us into wandering islands. But what we want, young people in Iran, to hold our hands. We are not political figures. There are many great people inside Iran. We have come together only because a number of people inside Iran. The experiences Mr. Pahlavi has had, many people on the streets of Iran have called Mr. Pahlavi's family, and same justice seeking that Mr. Esmaeilion has managed to bring people to the streets, and Kurdistan as well. They have influential parties. We cannot repeat the same bad things being said about certain parties in Kurdistan. I'm wearing this rainbow badge because this represents the LGBT community and represents Kian Pir Falak. This is representing the diversity in Iran. I extend my hand of friendship and unity to all media outlets, that you are not just media. You see, when George Floyd was killed, media outlets took side. They did not remain silent. The side of truth is Iran, is our Iran. What did the people of Iran say? No, the people of Iran did not say that if Mr. Pahlavi is here, there will be dictatorship. The people of Iran shouted from across regions. They only shouted against the Islamic Republic. We should not be afraid of repeating each other's names. Put aside your differences. People, whoever follows each and every one of us, let's hug each other. And I have learned so much from these people that in order to get past the Islamic Republic, we should not be afraid. We should hug each other, hold each other's hands, and get past the Islamic Republic. What can I say after her? Very briefly. I should say why I joined this group, because I wanted to join this rainbow of diversity of Kian Pir Falak. The voice of the people of Iran was important for me.
Many of our objectives are not necessarily political. Look at Ali Dai, Volya Ghafouri, Maulavi Abdulhamid, or Jafar Panahi and Mohammad Rasulov. There are various classes of society that want to be a part of this movement.
I haven't been an iron-fisted moderator because we have 6 more questions in about 7 minutes. So what I'd like to do is actually allow those who've flown from far away we'll bunch some questions together, and then we can give them to the speakers as a final. Let me start with Nazanin Boniadi.
Thank you very much.
It's a pleasure to be here after 43 years. We're all here. And it's been 5 months after the murder of Mahsa Jina, and with all the other killings and oppression, this revolution has continued. How do you see the main factor behind this revolution? And Mr. Pahlavi, you have said, you have spoken about the importance of unity among various groups. Can you tell us a little bit about the state of these groups?
I just want to say that millions of Iranians right now are jubilant, seeing you side by side in unity. We love each and every one of you for the dedication, perseverance, hard work that you've put in. What unites you all is your love for Iran and your hamvatans, and we all feel it, and your real belief in woman life freedom. We have a lot of brilliant individuals and groups in the diaspora with incredible skills that have been working hard, organizing, planning out a roadmap for the path ahead. My question is, are you going to be formally coming together in the form of a Solidarity Council? And when? Do you already have the beginnings of a roadmap? And when can you meet these other groups and subject matter experts so they can present their ideas, projects, and how they can best serve you and the movement going forward?
Thank you. We have a Georgetown student, Bahar. Is she here? Yeah, please.
Yes, we need young generation.
Thank you so much. I'm going to ask 2 quick questions. I'll do the first one in English because it's more international. Our dictators are very united, from Putin to Assad to Khamenei. And I'm wondering, do you have any plans to work with other opposition groups, such as the Assad opposition group, because they have an interest in the fall of the Islamic Republic for democracy and freedom? And my second question, I'll do it in Farsi because it's related to my generation.
As a 22-year-old Iranian, I am curious to know how you want to include young people in this process, not just in protests, because many of young people are in prisons. And how do you want to use their voice and include them in this process?
Since we're here in Washington, what realistically could the Biden administration do to support this? Nazanin, I know you were at the State Department a few months back. Have you seen any change or any good policies coming out of that meeting? And are you worried that the U.S. administration hasn't heard the united position from Iranian Americans on this subject?
Thank you. And final question to Ladan Salami from Independent Persian. Is she here? Please.
Thank you. I have a question for Mr. Pahlavi. My question is about the worries of the people of Iran, that today many people with different attitudes, with different mentalities, have come together. This is good. The worry is that if this unity does not come to fruition, this will disappoint the people. What do you think can be done to reduce the worries and increase this unity? And another question is that, do you think we will see another meeting of this kind?
Why don't we, if you can, I know that there were many questions, but take 2 minutes each of you to try to respond to them, and then unfortunately we don't have the room any longer. Why don't you start, Hamajan?
If you allow me, I will answer Bahar's question. As far as other movements, we have the responsibility, all of us, those who are involved, to study the other movements and see what is going on, what has gone on in other movements, South Africa, Yugoslavia, Rwanda, Czech Republic, and other countries. We must not repeat the mistakes of the others. This is very important. there is a Syrian writer, you pointed to Syria. This is, while the Iranian Revolution is in process, a Syrian writer points out the mistakes that they themselves made and others. There was another portion of it that was published yesterday. I believe it's very educational for all of us, because instead of, he points to some place about the ups and downs of the revolutions that happen. Sometimes it's on a lower, and sometimes it's not on the high. That is when those who are fighting they'll repeat. We must be careful that when there is a calm, we must not attack each other, and instead we must move towards solidarity. The other issue is life. The name of this revolution is Women, Life, Freedom, and many of the people have lost their dear and loved ones. But that doesn't mean that life stops. This doesn't mean that those who are living together, listening to music, who are engaging in recreation, we mustn't attack them. The families of the justice seekers whom I have been in touch with over the past 3 years, we've been fighting shoulder to shoulder. We never have wanted unhappiness for the people, and that continues. Not everyone can be a 24-hour revolution. We cannot expect from this. We must let people live their lives. And at the time of the fight, we must be together with each other. And your generation, as I don't like to use this word of use, because it's not like that at all. And it's not like that at all in my view. My hope is to be alongside these youngsters to fight them, to destroy all these norms that have imprisoned so many generations in Iran. It is not easy to get to that, but I am hopeful that we can, as soon as possible, meet with members, with representatives of the Generation Z, to set these up. This is very important from within Iran. Fortunately, most of them are on social media, and as far as I can, I try to follow this up.
Dear Bahar, I have respect for your tears. Before I came here, I was so stressed when I was practicing to read this charter. Dear Hamid and Mr. Pahlavi were near me. I promised them that I would not cry in this meeting, but out of respect for your tears and young people like you, we need your power. I don't want to use the word use, as Mr. Esmaeilion said so bravely, because he is one of the families of the victims, he can say more courageously than other people that this is a revolution of life. We should not mourn for this revolution. And people, Mr. Aslani is here, the singer. You have been alongside this revolution. Mr. Singers like Gogush and Ebi, please do not cancel your concerts. These concerts are actually for solidarity, for life, woman, life, freedom, because shutting down life is exactly what the regime wants. About the role of young people, I invite you, dear Bahar, that, as I said, with the help of opposition groups in Syria, Iraq, and Russia, the groups that we work together, I want to tell you something about a young person I know, Ammar. He is a man whose father was killed by Qasem Soleimani. His cousins were also killed by Qasem Soleimani, and many others like him, who were saying that they were distancing themselves from Iran because he said we were calling Soleimani a hero. But I told him that we weren't calling Soleimani a hero. It was NAYAC members who said so. We have a common enemy in the region, and that is Khamenei and the Islamic Republic. We cannot leave this place today without naming Afghanistan and the brave women of Afghanistan, our brothers in Syria, in Iraq, all of these people who are wounded by the corrupt regime of Khamenei. These are the people we're extending our hands of friendship. We can tell the world that the war in the region is I've talked about these wars, and now these wars have extended to the heart of Europe. The IRGC is sending UAVs, drones, to the heart of Europe to fight against Ukrainians. We are telling the world that if you do not unite against the Islamic Republic, you will have to face them in your countries. Thank you, Bahar, for being the voice of young people for Pejman Golipur as well.
To answer the question, of course, I think many of us would have liked to see President Biden make a mention of Iran in his State of the Union address. But I will say, since I first met with the administration months ago now with Vice President Kamala Harris, the Secretary of State, and the National Security Advisor, I've stayed in touch, and I think a number of really great things have come out of it. Of course, there was the co-convened ARIA Formula, UN Security Council ARIA Formula meeting that they co-convened, that I was fortunate enough to be able to speak at with Shirin Ebadi, Nobel Laureate Shirin Ebadi. But of course, after that, there are a number of things. There was a UN Human Rights Council session that led to the fact-finding mission. There was a huge group effort in the diaspora to remove the Islamic Republic from the UN Commission on the Status of Women, which was also championed by the Vice President. But of course, she heeded the calls from inside Iran, which is so important to us, because every message that we deliver the administration comes directly from Iran. This is not something that the Vice President simply said, okay, well, let's just kick out the Islamic Republic out of the UN Commission on the Status of Women. It was absolutely women's rights defenders in Iran whose calls were heeded. So I think those things are symbolic and very important, and I think more policy is coming out of Congress which we can support, such as the MASA Act, and in my meetings with lawmakers I have been encouraged that the tide is shifting away from support and normalization of the Islamic Republic. And hopefully what we'll see is a shift from the nuclear file to human rights, a human rights focused policy on Iran.
Consider, friends, that perhaps some of the questions you have, we may be able to answer, but in reality, most of the questions you have are addressed to people who know how to set up the mechanisms to set these things up. They can answer your questions more accurately. We are not a leadership council. We are going to help to form such a council, and most of the groups and currents and even that coalition that you expected can form that, and so that they can distribute the responsibilities, everything that will help this process of overthrow of the regime and entering the phase of transition. So know that as far as we can, we will be as transparent as far as possible that you had wanted. But know that many of these appropriate questions that you're raising, be patient until this process follows its natural course. Of course, there is a deadline. Of course, many of these groups feel a deadline because of what came, the spark that set off this revolution. But all of us know that with every day that passes, how much damage is inflicted on our country, how much the water crisis is how much harm is causing, how it can be a greater problem than social issues. How can the world know that a different Iran and the danger of Islamic radicalism or the nuclear threat, which the JCPOA revolves around more. The role that the Islamic Republic plays in terms of helping the Russians repress the people of Ukraine, and in terms of energy, that Iran can provide energy for Europe. How can we solve the problem of water? How can we get help from international specialists? Contrary to Ahmadinejad, who wanted Israel to not exist, we want to use the best Israeli specialists in Iran so that they can help us solve the problem. How can we attract foreign investment in Iran in terms of moving the economic wheel? We have to look at the areas that have suffered the greatest harm, from Balochistan to Kurdistan, where there is no industry. What industries can we form there so that they can create jobs? How can we, more than ever, move towards a non-oil economy? How can we promote tourism? And many other ideas. This is the work of specialists. That's where they will give you a plan, they will give you a project, they will be in touch with our fellow countrymen, they will use social media, the youth of the country, whether whether within or outside, they can give views, they can contribute. We must reach that phase. Organization and institutions. And we are moving towards that. And that's where I say that the diaspora, especially, which has the ability to speak freely, has more financial resources, they should be supporting this movement. We don't expect, before this problem, these things are offered, that you can do anything else. But I know and I've heard, and not only me, but others have heard, that they're waiting for this to be created sooner rather than later, so that they know how and where they can help. Know that all of this is constantly under discussion, especially with activists inside the country in various areas, especially in the academic realm. And let me tell you, and I've said this before, and we agree, most of the people who fill the vacuum in Iran are actually within Iran. It's the technocratic and bureaucratic field within Iran itself, whether it's in government or the private sector. They are the ones who are filling this vacuum, and there are others overseas who can help in terms of ideas, technology, or investment. All of this will go back to a scenario where we can present to the world, and they can see the components. That's when our work will be made easier. Now, whether we go to the Munich Security Conference or when Nazanin Boniadi goes to the UN, sometimes we might go together, sometimes we might go individually, but know that this is our main message to the world and to the people. As soon as we can get to the end of this charter, again, depending on within Iran, the basic points of our agreement have been decided on, and this requires joint effort, collective effort, and of course division of labor, and we will get there. Thank you very much.
Please join me in thanking these extraordinary leaders, their passion, their commitment, and all that they represent. She's hugging, carrying out the instructions. Our program is concluded, but our journey continues in all the ways you've heard discussed today, and in all the ways each of us will join that journey. It is my pleasure to invite all of you to stay for tea and for snacks. Continue the camaraderie. We're going to ask that you stay in your seats until our leaders can leave. And let me just add that it takes a village to mount a program like this. This has had thousands of pieces to it. And let me just quickly thank the people who played prominent roles. I want to thank our team leader, Ali Smith, Lana Kwan, Mary Haynes, Jackson Manor, Sarah Rutherford, Jess Keller, Helen Rocker, Anna Lashavi, Lexi Gopin, Ruth McBain, Lydia Sullivan, Russell Gordon. We don't usually, you see this on a reel, but I have to do it this way. I want to thank SIS Global Solutions for their work, Percy Media for their translation, Pantiha Razovi, who designed this extraordinary graphic, and she's here in the room. And the 35 other volunteers I haven't named, but they all were very grateful to each and every one of them. So please let our leaders leave, and thank you all for coming and ever onward.
مرسی از همتون که اومدین. دمتون گرم. به جای پنجه بر صورت هم کشیدن، پنجه ها رو میکشیم به سمت دیکتاتور. دمتون گرم که اومدین. مرسی.
پاینده ایران، زن، زندگی، آزادی.